Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. Make sure to follow us on Discord and stop by www.tsj101sports.com for all the news in the world of sports, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, NCAA, you name it, it's all there, tsj101sports.com. Are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create a wrestler, sign a contract, get into storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family and you want your name in the shoutouts, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today. Don't forget we have loyalty rewards. Any $15 a month contributor, you can co-host a live episode with me. And our $7.50 a month contributors, you could be entered into a drawing to also co-host an episode of a live show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. We'll be taking your questions, your comments, anything you want to discuss, as well as touching on the day's news and rumors throughout the show. Make sure if you have something you want us to talk about at a later episode, tune in to the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line at 267-642-1160, where you can leave comments, questions, anything you want us to discuss later, and we will try to get to as many of those as we possibly can. Don't forget to head over to the homepage of the Pro Wrestling Podcast at prowrestling.com and see what we have there. Sponsors, interview series, as well as a very interesting video library collection of relatively rare wrestling videos that you could check out from yesteryear, today, all kinds of stuff that's not necessarily the most common thing to find on the internet. So today's episode got so much stuff to talk about. We'll try to cram it all into one episode. One, gotta say congratulations to the almighty Bobby Lashley. The almighty era has begun. Congrats to him for winning the WWE Championship last night on Raw. Long overdue. Should have happened a decade ago. Instead, we're just getting a Bobby Lashley era now. And now the conversation kind of shifts. I think he's putting on the best performances of his entire career, and I'm thrilled to see this version of Bobby Lashley. I think Bobby Lashley 10 years ago, at least from a physical standpoint, from an appearance standpoint, he could have easily run with the WWE Championship. But the way he's been booked in the last 6 to 9 months as this unstoppable force has really made it so he is one of the main players in WWE and deserves this opportunity to walk into WrestleMania as the WWE World Champion. Now, that shifts the conversation to WrestleMania, and who do you put against Bobby Lashley? The problem I have is it sounds as though they really want to do this Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre thing. My issue with that is we did that last year at Extreme Rules. We've seen this match recently on WWE programming. We saw the same feud in Impact Wrestling. It's been done before. The people are clamoring. Fans, as soon as he won the championship last night, people went out and were clamoring on Twitter and various social media outlets begging for the dream match. Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. And I think it's time you make it happen. And here's the thing. WWE has gotten incredibly challenged when it comes to long-term booking. But I want you to think about this for a moment. You've got MVP, an incredible mouthpiece, working with Bobby Lashley with the Hurt Business. You have Brock Lesnar, who historically has worked with Paul Heyman. Yes, I understand Paul Heyman is over on SmackDown with Roman Reigns, but follow me on this. Brock Lesnar returns, challenges Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. Paul Heyman is still his advocate. You have him win the WWE Championship, or at least heavily contend for it, creating an issue for Paul Heyman to choose between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. I get it, we've seen the match before, but it's a different angle. The head of the table versus the beast incarnate, and it's a very different feel. Brock has always, in some way, shape, or form, been the heel in that feud. It's time for Brock Lesnar to take on the role as the babyface when Paul Heyman chooses to go with the younger, more athletic, more over at the moment champion, which would be Roman Reigns. In the Bobby Lashley segment, you could even have Roman Reigns cost Brock Lesnar the WWE Championship to set the tone for the feud. And it's a little different. Again, Brock working as a babyface would be very challenging and very different. okay? But he has done it before. Think about when Paul Heyman turned on him before with the Big Show. And it led to the Brock Lesnar being a face for quite a while. Even going into his feud with Kurt Angle leading into WrestleMania that year, you could almost pull the same thing now and it would feel fresh because it's been so long. On the topic of WrestleMania, there are so many matches that haven't been announced yet. Understandably, we're still relatively early, haven't even made it to Fastlane yet, but there's a bunch of them on the docket. Some I love, some of them I don't. I understand they want to push this Charlotte Flair Asuka thing. I would not wait till Mania for that. The championship has been on Asuka for a very long time, and I know people are over and done with Charlotte, but Charlotte is the perfect person to put the championship on at Fastlane and then have her challenged by Rhea Ripley back-to-back years at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's Championship this time instead of the NXT Championship, and this time Rhea Ripley would win it and set up a rematch at Extreme Rules. I would be all in favor of Rhea Ripley being the one to really dethrone the Queen instead of waiting for Asuka to do it at WrestleMania, lose the championship to Charlotte there, and then do Rhea Ripley further down the road. I think Rhea Ripley, after her performance last WrestleMania, really has earned the opportunity to be in that spot, and I would love to see that happen. Other Mania matches that are being rumored, it's conversation that apparently they may bring back the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and the Women's Battle Royal. I don't see why not. All the protocols have been in place. They've done pretty well with this COVID testing. And if you're going to have fans in the stadiums, why not have wrestlers in the ring? So give your people an opportunity to be a part of the card. It's been such a tough year for so many. Other matches being talked about. Obviously, both tag team championships and the men's side, women's tag team championship. A lot of three-way matches, Intercontinental and United States championships have to be defended. I don't know what you do, though. There's no real overly compelling storyline, and all the matches that are being rumored right now, they've kind of been done. They've been done to death. The only match that I find incredibly interesting, rumored for the card, would be Seth Rollins versus Cesaro versus Daniel-Bryan. I would actually love for Daniel-Bryan not to be in that match because I'd love to see Seth and Cesaro put on a clinic for everybody, and maybe that would be what it would take to propel Cesaro into the upper echelon of competitors. But I don't see them doing that because they like the star and attraction of Daniel Bryan. I get it. I love seeing Daniel Bryan too. But there's a lot of other things he could be doing right now that don't involve him being in a match with Seth Rollins and Cesaro. I wouldn't be opposed to a Daniel Bryan-Seth Rollins feud even, but not right now. Cesaro needs this because this is the closest I feel like he's ever been to legitimizing himself as a single star, and that's something we need to do. Mentioned earlier the whole history of Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman and how the Big Show was a part of that. The Big Show, as you know, in the news because he signed with AEW. This week he's debuting with AEW, and I think the beautiful thing about this is he has so much left to offer. And there are some big guys over in AEW that'll be interesting to see how he integrates into that system. Can he help Luchasaurus get over the hump and be a real main event player? Can he work with the Murder Hawk Monster? Can he do that and really try to get him over? Can he work with some of these bigger talents and share the depth of his wisdom with all these years in the business? I'm still surprised that WWE let him go, but then again, they had nothing left for him, and he wants to do something. So I'm thrilled for the Big Show. I hope he does very well in AEW. The only thing that frustrates me is WWE had all these opportunities to do the Big Show versus Shaq and never capitalized on it. And now it's going to happen in AEW. And I know that sounds like I'm dumping on AEW, but AEW is equivalent or slightly ahead of NXT. It's not Raw. It's not SmackDown yet. And I feel like we're taking a match that should have been one of those attraction matches at a WrestleMania, and we're putting it on a Wednesday night show with nowhere near enough build. But whatever, it is what it is when it comes to the Cody-Rhodes match. I fully expect the Big Show to get involved in some way, shape, or form, setting up a pay-per-view match with Shaq. But at the same time, like, Shaq is how old? The Big Show is how old? Where they're both past where this is relevant. So I feel like this was Tony Khan looking at a situation that Vince McMahon botched and trying to capitalize on it, but I just feel like it's too little too late. I really do. Other things in the news this week, Adam Cole, I have a real problem with them separating the Undisputed Era before they went to the main roster. They could have walked into the main roster and really been something special, and instead it's going to be it's just not going to be the Undisputed Era. No matter what happens, Adam Cole maybe goes there, maybe the rest of them stay in NXT, maybe somebody else goes to the main roster. I don't know. But I don't like what they did here. I really think they should have kept the Undisputed Era together and brought them to the main roster, had them do some kind of faction attack, almost akin to the Nexus angle of some sort, because let's face it, they're as over as you could possibly be for a faction. And that's in their third-rate program, supposedly. So I think WWE dropped the ball here a little bit. Hopefully, whatever they do next with Adam Cole is something that sets him up for a main roster run. Carlito, no longer with WWE, was a short-term agreement, came in for a couple appearances, and I can't tell you how frustrated I am with this, because I thought, one, obviously, he looked incredible, but he really looked like he could go in the ring. It looked like he was the young Carlito from 10, 12 years ago. This was an opportunity to bring another face in. He's been off TV for quite a while. Clearly, people wanted to see him. They were all fired up when he was going to be the Legends Night, even though I don't necessarily consider him to be a legend. And then WWE just drops the ball and lets him go. Like, come on, man. Like, what does it take for WWE to realize what fans want to see? So many people came out on social media after the Rumble and were so excited to see Carlito, and now WWE just let him walk away. AEW hasn't swooped in and scooped him up either. I don't get it. The guy looks great, and he's an incredible in-ring technician coming from a great family background. Everybody in that family is amazing. You know what I'm saying? So, like, come on. Like, WWE needs to get a clue here. You're missing out on an opportunity. I know that Chelsea Green is in the news this week, signing a new 3-year deal with WWE. Not necessarily the biggest tidbit of news, but when I look at that and I see, here's a young lady who hasn't done a ton on the roster, but they made the overture to sign her to a 3-year deal. Good for her. Happy for Chelsea Green. Hopefully they do something of substance with her. But what really matters to me is it tells me they're trying to start locking up talents again for long-term contracts, which means they're getting back to business as usual. Last year, all those budget cuts, all the people they let go, and I think this is finally the shift we need to see. You've seen like the Performance Center classes have been expanding. You know, Rick Steiner's son is a recruit, and Taya Valkyrie is a recruit, and all these other people coming into WWE's recruiting system now. And then you see stuff like this, some of their superstars. Rumor has it Matt Riddle has gotten a new contract. Cesaro won't even confirm or deny whether he got a new contract. I hope they're going out of their way to sign these people and give them a reason to stay with the company and add some stability so they can start planning some real long-term booking. Because let's face it, when you're expecting people to walk out every 6 to 8 months, it makes it hard to plan. I want them to start putting an investment into their talents that have been loyal and been there a long time. So hopefully these people can really contribute for the long haul. Got to talk about NWA Power. Everybody was freaking out because their stuff disappeared off of YouTube the other day, and then all of a sudden the conversation came out, what's going on? Is the NWA folding? It is not. It is returning on the Fight Network. They will be doing pay-per-views, and previous NWA videos will be streaming there. This is a great move for NWA Power. Hopefully at some point they get a distribution deal where they could do something on television, regular mainstream television. But for now, I think this is a good move. And the Dark Side of the Ring, for anybody who has been watching those Season 1, Season 2, they've been incredible. Season 3 apparently is well on its way to being finished up and is going to focus on a new host of ideas that are going to be very interesting to look at. But now there's a new show coming out, Dark Side of the Ring Confidential, which will have sit-down interviews with various people, Tommy Dreamer, people like that, about topics that have already been discussed, and additional information about those conversations and those topics will come out in this new series. It starts next week. I'm excited to see what they do with it. I think there's a lot of potential there for some exciting conversation and a real glimpse into some of the stories that really make wrestling fans enjoy and appreciate what this business is. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode where we'll run down all the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks as always go out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all the music and sound effects we use on our show. Today's podcast is sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this new game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the screen to pick up your copy today. And to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move and you're considering college, university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our sister website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs. Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. And as I said before, if you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors and all things sports related, go to www.tsj101sports.com for their latest articles on the world of sports. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.